between 5'5" and 6'1". Um, whatever your skin tone, complexion preference is, whatever your hair length preference is, whatever your attraction preference is, like face wise, featureism wise, whatever your personality perspective is. So some people like, because I've heard men say, like, this is where I might differ from a lot of the other men. They'll say, like, I like a woman with a backbone that's going to stand up to me. That's not my thing. I'm not really interested in fighting with no damn body. So for some people, that's like, nah, that shit turn me on. For me, it's like it turned me off. So for me, that would be something that would be on that list. I don't want somebody that's fighting with me. I want somebody that want to argue. I don't want none of that shit. Um, what else? At your base, like I was just saying, your core characteristics. Like I 100% believe that you can grow as a person, but those things won't change. Like you will always be. What you gonna say?
So I wanted to just have a question about the argument. So what if you're doing something wrong?
What you mean? Give me an example.
So I don't think that, do people just argue just to be argued? Like if there's
It
something
seemed
wrong.
like it. It's no.
Oh,
It seemed like people argue to argue. From what I seen, it should seem like people argue to argue. But give me an example. Let's
so for
role
example,
play time. You want to play role play time? Let's.
well, no. I know that a lot of people do. So when women see a change in behavior, they may mention it, right? Or if they see you doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Usually, the phone is involved. There may be an argument. I don't know that people really argue just to, if everything is going great and he's not doing anything wrong. Like, do people argue with that? Like,
I need you to provide me an example of something people argue about.
so when the things that I see usually that lead to arguments is you find that there's another woman involved. That's the main argument. Or there's
Is it
some,
though?
yeah, I mean, that's the main argument that I see a lot of, you know, yeah, that's the main
Well,
argument.
there's a solution for that, but man,
Shut
Nothing
up, Marquez.
while I was away.
you say what? You say what mistaken?
I said nothing's changed while I was away.
She walked me right into that. So I was like, why would you argue about that? Because you can solve that problem. But no, so I need somebody to provide an argument so we can role play this so I can see, because I really don't think none of these arguments need to exist.
Wait,
So
I do have a question. I think what you were saying about the guys list, and you's like, it's not that long, it's just like the fit, feminine, and friendly. But
mhm.
based on what we were just talking about the longevity of a relationship and trying to grow together or learning when somebody's growing at a faster pace than the other one or whatever, how does those things have anything to do with the relationships? So, because to me, the fit, feminine, and friendly to me are things that are superficial and not at the character level that like Inaz was talking about, like in terms of having character. So my thing is that starting off the process like incorrect. I'm not saying you shouldn't have somebody that you're attracted to. Don't get me wrong about that. But what I'm saying is that part of the problem with choosing, because your list, and even for women too, are what I would say superficial and not necessarily character based. Like I think that should be promoted like more along the lines of like what, like character, commitment, and cooperation, right? As opposed to fit, feminine, and friendly. It seems like you would have the character, cooperation, and commitment be on the front end of what you're looking for, and then tie the fit, feminine, and friendly on the back end, if
I
that
think
makes
that yeah, I understand what you're saying. So using that example, I think the only one that's superficial is the fit one. Feminine and friendly are character traits. So you kind of got to understand how we see feminine and friendly. So that falls in. You say what?
I was saying, are those, I guess, somewhat synonymous or the same attribute? Like if you're feminine, does that encompass friendly?
So all right, so it can, but it's further into it. So I would think when somebody say feminine, they think of a soft, kind, warm, nurturing, um, like all the things that you would when they talk about a good woman, a lot of men associate that with a feminine woman. They typically don't make the jump that you're a bad woman if you're extremely feminine. It's one of the reasons why men will try and protect the feminine women within a space, and as the way we see it. I mean, it might be different definitions, and I might be adding a whole lot onto it, but using those two, and friendly would be like cooperative, friendly actually, pleasing tone, pleasant disposition, all those things I feel like fall more into like the character than they would into the superficial, except for fit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure what would be. Have
Those are
you?
not the same thing.
No, I guess my point.
I'm saying the way we view it.
You can you have a feminine woman that's not friendly? Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yes.
How does that look? I'm just pitch. I'm
It looks like, hi, yes. You can tell somebody they're you can tell somebody off in a feminine way. You can be nasty in a feminine way. I mean, look about slavery. A lot of those were Southern belles, but they were nasty.
A good
Southern.
example of that, a good example of that is actually Andrea.
He is
She's
feminine.
very, very feminine.
Yeah.
Who is Andrea?
You don't watch Thursday at all, huh?
I be asleep. And some of us have to wake early in the morning.
well. If y'all were arguing back and forth, like is I guess I just can't wrap my mind around that. If how can she be feminine, but every time I hear you guys talking about the stuff that she's saying and doing, it doesn't sound feminine to me. Like I think of my mom as feminine. I think, what I encompass as feminine, it also encompasses the friendly. And I guess I'm finding it hard to separate the two
She
So,
feminine.
to
I
come
would
up.
not describe her as masculine. But all right, go. You got it.
so the one thing that she does is that, like, even though she goes back and forth with people, she doesn't raise her voice. Like, she's not a yeller, right? The other thing that I've seen her do that exudes femininity is that I've seen people make remarks in her direction and she'll just sit there. She doesn't always respond to things, right? So there are still aspects of femininity. And I think the other thing too is that sometimes when we hear people talk about femininity, we have this like tunnel vision of what femininity looks like. You can be feminine and still express it in very different ways, right? Like Shane's femininity and my femininity are not the same, but she's no less feminine than I am. So there's still that aspect of personality that comes through, and that's where the friendly part becomes important. That friendliness of like you're not just feminine in terms of like your tone of voice, your demeanor, and your volume, and the amount of space that you take up, right? Or just allowing a man to lead, right? But you're also doing it in a way that is not combative. And normally when we look at combative, we look at it as like yelling and stuff like that. You can still be combative and be really soft. I think femininity is more that softness, and then the friendly part is more your interactions with other people. One is your own essence, and the other is how you express it in conjunction with others. But I did want to kind of circle back. I don't think fit is as superficial as people make it seem. I think the